Hello and welcome. I'm Allison Cody, Executive Director of MAFSI, and I'll be leading today's webinar. We're so glad you're here. I want to welcome you to What You Need to Know, a MAFSI SpecPath webinar for manufacturers. I encourage you to take note of any questions or comments that you have during the call, and I'll be more than happy to answer them at the end. You should see a question box that you can enter in your questions on the viewer. So please feel free to send them anytime during the presentation, and I will be answering them at the end. Also, we'll be covering a lot of ground today, so we will make these webinar recordings available to you next week so you can share them with your staff, or if you'd like to rewatch them yourself. So once again, thank you for being here today. Today's webinar is geared towards both SpecPath newbies as well as some of you that have familiarity with it. We know there's been a lot of buzz lately, and we wanted to design a webinar that would work for everyone, regardless of what you know or you don't know about the program. SpecPath has been a labor of love for over 2 years, and we're so glad to be presenting it to you as a viable, thriving product. We feel confidently that SpecPath will forever change the landscape of 4,000 specs in our industry, and we couldn't be more excited to show it to you. So, what is SpecPath? I promise to make this brief, as I know most of you already know. But for manufacturers, SpecPath is a software program for tracking all of the 11,400 specs in North America. SpecPath gives manufacturers a crucial pipeline intel that you can use for forecasting, manufacturing, and related reporting. We estimate that there's over 10,000 food service equipment specifications written each year. And by having them in one central digital database and secure database, you'll easily be able to know which markets have high sales growth versus high spec growth versus high building growth. You'll know which consultants are speccing you, and if you're prime spec, they're equal or they're alternate, and you'll know your top performing products by model number, market segment, region, and much, much more, all before you ever receive a single purchase order. So you'll be able to track credits and credit the right rep the first time. There'll be no more hunting down credits and countless wasted hours of credit revisions and allocation paperwork, because now you'll have it all in one place. So in a nutshell, SpecPath is just taking all of those 11,400 specs that now currently physically exist in our food service landscape. We're putting them into one system, we're digitizing it, and pulling out of that the brands, models, quantities, and more to subsequently correlate each item with the right rep, the right consultant, and the right dealer, and allowing you to even see which dealers are bidding on your jobs and those that have been awarded. The main goal of SpecPath is to get the right rep paid for the work that they do, and in the process, give manufacturers market intel that you have never had before. So, when I say getting the right rep paid, it's a zero-sum game for manufacturers, because you're paying reps right now. You just might not be paying the right rep for the spec, and it's been a hard process. It's the same in every industry that uses manufacturers' reps and splits commission. So we are not alone, but hopefully we will show you today that we are on our way to a solution for the food service industry. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the program. For today's demo, you'll notice a lot of the manufacturers and reps have just a general name and then a number. For this demo, since SpecPath is based on your brand or your competitor's brand, we can't really show you the actual product because we would have to log in as somebody on the program. So when you log in, these would actually be filled with the names of your actual rep firms, your name, and you'll see as we go through here. So we did keep the names of consultants in here. And then I also wanted to point out that anytime you need to return to this dashboard, sorry about that, you can just click the SpecPath logo. So when you first log into SpecPath, you'll have this dashboard. I wanted to mention on all of these pages for the current users of SpecPath, we have increase the speed on every page for my dashboard, my rep firms, my consultants, my dealers, etc. On the real site, which is www.specpath.org. So all these pages load in 2 to 3 seconds. We were having about a 10 to 15 second load time. This demo server that I am using today is still experiencing some of the other speed issues that the old site or that the actual site used to have, but it won't affect our demo. I just wanted to let you know that this server is running about 10 to 15 seconds even behind the live server. So we have solved all of those issues. Everything will load for you super, super, super fast. I also wanted to point out here, if you are a manufacturer that's using SpecPath and you have multiple brands, you'll soon be able to see the multiple brands with one login. That mostly applies to perhaps conglomerates that maybe the people at the conglomerate level would like to see the brands, more than one brand, but perhaps they would like the individual brands just to be able to see their own brands. So you'll have some differentiation that you can apply to users with that. So on this first screen, when you log in, these top 2 boxes show you your projects versus all projects. And this is not real data. In the live SpecPath, we launched on July 11th for the reps, and on manufacturers, we launched 8/11. So since 7/11, because the reps are the ones uploading the projects, we have 556 projects, and that is representing over 130,000 items so far in SpecPath. So these 2 boxes show you your new projects this week, this month, all projects, and then all projects week, month. So you can compare yourself to how you're tracking against all the projects in the system. Over here on the side is just a MAFSI region map. It's not interactive at this point. We look to have it be interactive in the future, so it will have counts on how many projects are per region. So if we want to use perhaps region 25 as an example, then it'll say, 1 to 250 projects is a certain color, 250 to 500 projects is a certain color. So you can sort of measure which regions have the most projects. You'll also be able to there'll be a radio button which will be able to let you switch between high spec growth, build growth, and sales growth. And that's one of the benefits of SpecPath as well, is you'll be able to tell which of your reps are doing a really good job with spec, because that region will have high spec activity. I know that it's always been tradition to focus on sales growth, but we know the industry's changing, and sometimes these mid-sized dealers just simply can't compete when it comes to getting the order. So even though the rep's doing a great job with them, sometimes they just simply can't win that order. So we kind of want to move the thinking a little bit with manufacturers, to say, and when you're looking at maybe bonus programs or other things, maybe look at other things besides just sales growth. Look at spec growth, look at difference in commission dollars from year to year, and that kind of stuff. So this will allow you to see, that kind of stuff. And then build growth, you'd want to see, what regions have high build growth. So according to where, the projects are being built. So anyway, not interactive now, but within the next couple months, if not sooner, this map will be. This next box just shows you your top 3 rep firms and the number of projects that they have for your brand. So this is how many projects this rep firm has your brand on. Then the top 3 consultants, top 3 dealers, and top 3 market segments. Just to give you an idea of what the data behind this, we have 857 manufacturer equipment brands running in SpecPath, both manufacturers that use reps and don't use reps. So we pretty much are covering the entire equipment industry. So, and that's based on pure fact. So I guess, that is a number, because we're only tracking equipment. So if you've ever wondered how many equipment manufacturers there are, we're at 857 that are appearing in specs, actually, I should say that. So their name has physically appeared in a spec, otherwise they wouldn't be on our list. My consultants, and that list grows every day because there are some manufacturers that don't use reps that we didn't have, but we are getting pretty close, we think, to the end. My consultants, so we have 990 consultants in the system, and I'm going to show you in a minute how the reps assign them to projects. So we've spent about 6 to 8 months vetting these lists of both consultants and dealers. We have 2,265 dealers in the system. And we've individually verified all of those dealers. The consultants we've individually verified, except for there might be a handful that are the consultants that work out of their house that may or may not be in business that we couldn't even verify with the reps. But they were, but I mean, it's a handful, maybe 10. So if you run across one and you see it, you can let us know that person. But other than that, they've all been verified. We just couldn't verify somebody who doesn't have any sort of trail on the web to let us know that they're still in business. So, but they've all, that's only about 10. So we also are tracking all consultant main offices and branch offices. So for instance, when a rep types in CNE, it's going to pull up all the CNE littles and then they pick which one. Same with dealers. So we're running all dealer mains, branches, like brick and mortar branches, and also dealer satellite offices. So we're tracking all of those. So if we're missing a dealer or a consultant, that's not by design. We want them all. So the reps, since we've started, have maybe given us the names of 20 consultants that we were missing, and probably about the same amount of dealers. But if you see that we're missing one, then you'll be able to contact us and say, hey, can we add this? Or if a dealer opens up another satellite office, we need to know that as well. And then for my market segments, we're tracking all the market segments, and I'll show you that later on. And then once again, you can always click this to come back to the dashboard. So before we move on to my projects, I'm going to show you guys the rep version and the upload specifications page. So this is where all the data comes from. You do not have this on your version, on the manufacturer version. So we were asked yesterday on the manufacturer call if we could make it available, and we can, if that's what reality is. I just need to talk to a couple manufacturers and see, do you guys actually get the 11400 specs where you would upload them? We have it only on the rep side because they get the specs from the dealer and are asked to bid the project. So, but I mean, if a manufacturer in reality gets them, then, we have nothing. We have no aversion to adding it for you. We just didn't. So this is where the rubber kind of meets the road for SpecPath and how we get the data. So, as we know now, the dealer emails the rep the entire spec. It's 200 pages, and they say, I need you to go on this, open this PDF, go through it, mark all your manufacturers, make me a quote in auto quotes, and send it back to me. So with SpecPath, they'll take that same 200-page PDF and they'll load it to the system. So they just simply come here, they pick the PDF. They load the file, which then just puts it into our queue. And they type in the project name. We encourage them to take the project name off of the PDF if it's on there. If the header's been stripped, they've been really good. We haven't had any they can't enter in a project without a project name, so it's sort of alleviated that. And then, we're running all the zip codes in cities and states in North America, so we ask them to type in the state first, and because then it narrows it down faster than the city and the state, since many states have the same cities across North America. So what we're always looking for in SpecPath with all of these is 3 locations. So we want to know where the project's being built, where the consultant lives, and where the dealer is. So right now, as soon as they enter in this project, state, and city, we already have our first piece of the puzzle filled in. So for this spec, anything is going to be applied to MAFSI Region 12 Southeast Central reps. They are now the destination rep. So then we ask the rep to type in the consultant. As I mentioned, these are all already in the system. So reps can see all 990 consultants. So if we were to start typing, it narrows as we go through. Do a little Atlanta pride here with Camacho. And then now we have our second location, which is Southeast Central again, for the dealer. And then I'm going to, then the reps have to then enter the dealer and then ask them to bid on the project. Actually, let me jump back up to consultants. So if they don't find the consultant in our system, you know, if one of the 990 names in here doesn't pop up, then they can write in here new consultant. And then they click here to tell us the name of the consultant, their address, and which project they would like them added to. Like I said, we've had about 20 of these since the program launched in July 11th. So, but a lot of times they don't know the consultant. Not a lot, I should say. And about 10%, or not even that, 1%, I would say, of the projects, they might not know the consultant, and that might be just because the header's been stripped out, or a cover page is missing, or it just, you know, we all know what happened. So anyway, so then what we ask them to do is type in unknown consultant, and then we'll be able to crowdsource from both you and the reps for this unknown consultant. If you know the consultant, I'll show you that a little bit later, how to do that. But then what we've also found on the back end is, you know, because duplicate projects don't go away, because I mean, if it's a big project in a region, you can pretty much bet every equipment rep has at least 1 to 2 items, you know, on that project that they have to quote the dealer. So, you know, we've had duplicate projects uploaded, and then we combine those on the back end. We also have some front end stuff that I'll show you that will stop that as well. But, and then what we found too is that through everybody uploading a project, even though the project may be bid by a dealer outside the region where the consultant lives, the rep where the consultant lives most likely has that project as well and knows who that consultant is. And then when he or she uploads a project, then boom, we have that missing piece of the puzzle. And then we can assign the consultant, so then we would know the spec rep. So it's really bringing everything kind of out in the open and making this so transparent across North America. So, and we're not, all we're doing is they physically exist on, a PDF is sitting on somebody's desk somewhere. So it's not, you know, so we're just taking all that stuff that physically exists right now and putting it in a format for you guys to be able to see it and also make it easy to read. I skipped this part accidentally. So then we ask the rep to choose the market segment, and then if they know the bid date, then they can enter that as well. So when they add a dealer, I'm going to have to add some New York dealers here because I'm logged in as New York. So add the dealers, and then they save the file. The project then goes back onto our back end, and we have an automatic parser that then grabs that PDF immediately, and it skips, you know, maybe the first 100 pages until it gets to the items, and then it goes through and parses all those items, pulls out the manufacturer's brand name, the model number. We have an algorithm so it knows which one is prime, alt, and equal, automatically fills that in, takes off the quantity and the model number, and then also all of that raw text or spec text that includes all the accessories. You know, I want this, and I want it 4 inches high and with a faucet, and blah, blah, blah. So, and that is an automatic process. So, and it's pretty accurate. So we are really excited. And that will just continue to get faster and faster and faster, which is why we encourage the reps all the time to upload as many specs as possible, because with each model number that's added to the system, it's never added again. So then when it finds a model number or a manufacturer's name, you know, now it parses on both, then it knows exactly who that belongs to. So also the way consultants write things, you know, they spell manufacturer different. Some call things makes, models, you know, all that stuff. And so we've been working for the last 2 years and adding all those aliases, but, you know, we do find new ones every single day for the way that things are written. And once we make that correction, it never is made again. So it just gets faster and faster each day. At this point, we are just telling the reps that it's 24 hours. It was 48 hours when we launched on 7/11, and we intend to bring that down to an hour, if not a couple of hours, by December 31st. So our hope is that the reps can also use this system to quote, because as soon as the spec is uploaded, and I'll show this to you on your site as well, if we can turn these around in a couple hours, then, and so if you can think about it, only parsing the stuff that is a rep. So a rep only sees his items or her items on the project, and as a manufacturer, you only see your items. But if we could turn these around within an hour, then the rep could use them to quote. So they could have this screen open and quotes, and have another screen open with auto quotes and quote right into auto quotes and service the dealer much faster than going through, a PDF with a highlighter. So that is our goal. And so that's why we also keep encouraging, because every single time that we add any of this information, then it just makes the system faster. So that is that. So I am going to get back to the manufacturer version. The next screen is My Projects, and this is really the mothership, I guess, of the program. So on this screen, you'll see all of your projects. Once again, this is just you. You can't see any of your competitors' information. So the main table here, so this shows you how many projects that you have in the system. And then once we apply some of these filters in a couple minutes, you'll see that this number will change for filtered projects. So this dummy manufacturer has 277 projects in the system. This table, so project ID, this is probably going to be it is the most important field that we need to talk about in SpecPath. Like I said, we're eliminating the duplicate issue and the project name issue, hopefully. I mean, I'm not saying the project name couldn't get changed as it goes out into the next steps, such as, back to the dealer and all that kind of stuff, and auto quotes and all that stuff. But, we're going to be talking to auto quotes to see if we can add a SpecPath ID number. And if this project number, it's a very simple numbering system. It just started at 1, which is what software developers tell me is the best. Then if that can stay with the project the entire time, then hopefully we can finally start to close this loop that we've been all running around in for years. I know we tried the SIS system and it was great, but then that wasn't, and the consultants still use it, and we're still tracking their SIS numbers you'll see in here. So if we can do that and this, and maybe we can, work to finally close some of these loops with these projects. So, even all this stuff we can, you can export, or we could send manufacturers exports if you want to, use some of this information within, like, if you use Orgo or Salesforce. I know, or you might have your own system. I know that your ERP systems, though, are sometimes separate than your sales. So we can give you any of the fields that are in SpecPath if you wanted to, upload those into your system. I just don't know I don't know much about how your systems would work, but so just keep that in mind. But we think, we want this project ID is what is the most important field, because if we can hold on to this all the way through invoice, then, we've kind of helped everybody out. So then you have the project name. Obviously, these are just anonymized data. So this is, but in the real system, it would be Mission Hills Elementary School, best restaurant ever, 123, something hospital. So these would be all the project names. Project city, project state, project country, project region, who the consultant is, where the consultant lives, what are the dealers bidding on it, what segment, primary, alt, how many primary, alt, and equal items you have on the project. This is not the project. So this shows you how many items you have prime, how many items you have alt, how many items you have equal, project status, estimated bid date, and like you can see a lot of these are not defined. But on the actual system, I would say maybe 20%, 20% of them are. And we can also crowdsource for this, but we'd love to have as many bid dates as possible, but sometimes it's not even listed on the PDF. So if the rep knows it, they have been entering it. And then awarded date is set on when a dealer is awarded in SpecPath, and I'll show you that in a minute. So that's an automatic date. And then the date that the PDF was uploaded by the rep. It doesn't tell you which rep uploaded it because, no one really needs to know that information. You do need to know that once a PDF is uploaded, and when it goes to our back system, then we obviously look at every single one. A person looks at every single one before it's approved to make sure all the items are correct. We have quite a few people that all they do all day is check specs. But once a project's uploaded, if it affects any of MAFSI members at all, meaning it doesn't matter who uploads it. So if a rep in Region 3 uploads a project that from one of their consultants, but it's being built in California, and then it comes in, we approve it on the back end, and it goes live. Any rep that is on that project, meaning they have a manufacturer on that project in any of those 3 locations that affects, so where the project's being built, whatever the dealer is that's being bid, and then where the consultant lives, everybody gets to see that project. It's not just the person that uploaded it. Anyone that's on that project, as well as you. So if you have items on that project, you will get to see it. As soon as it's approved. So just wanted to touch on that. From this screen, you guys could probably tell me better. But we've given the ability here to also for manufacturers to be able to add a dealer to a project. We've been told that perhaps maybe you would know this information as well. So if you have a project and you have a dealer, a dealer is bidding on it too, you can just click this. None of this is editable, and you can add the dealer here. The only stopgap here is that we ask that you have the PDF file because we don't want people adding fake dealers that are. So you have to have the PDF, and that's what I'm not sure. So if you do, then you could add a dealer. So you just choose. So I'm going to go ahead and add a dealer, and then choose the file. Have to load it, and then add the dealer. So then if we go back to my projects, you can now see that that dealer has been added to the project. So up on the top of the page are your filters. So right now we're looking at all of your projects. So if you just wanted to see projects where you were prime, so you can see this number's changed to 257, alt 33, and same with equal. Now we'll go back to all. We also have additional filters. So, pretty much all these projects right now are in the bidding state because we've only been live for 2 months. But you could search, by bidding awarded, and then we'll also have another option here for closed once we get further into the system. So once a project's closed, we just want your view here to be less cluttered. So you can search for closed projects. They probably are not going to be on this screen, but they'll still be in the system for you. Project region, if you're looking for a specific region, you can just click this and click apply filters. And there's all of the projects that are being built in region 7. So 15 of them. So anytime you want to reset a filter, just click the reset button. You can do by market segment, and then you can also, so you can mix and match these filters together as well. So, and you can do by date. So if you only want to see projects uploaded from here to here, awarded from here to here, so on, so on, so on. And then you can also enter in a keyword. So if you're looking for a certain consultant, you can just enter that, and this is just going to pull up all my projects by JMK Food Service Consulting. And then you can also search by alphabet. This is just for the project name. So, oh, they all start with B. Huh, 277. And then once you look something up, so if we wanted to say, okay, I need to see JMK, and then I want to export that to a CSV, it's just exporting what's on this screen. So this is just a mini view of JMK. This screen, you can't search the items that are actually in the project. I'll show you that in a minute. But this just gives you a view into here. So now, got a specific project here. So this is the project we're going to use today in the demo. So all this information we just went over. I wanted to show you a couple anomalies that we all know happens in MAFSI and how SpecPath handles them. So this project is being built in Monticello, New York, and MAFSI does have some regions that overlap. So we can see, normally this would be a one-to-one relationship because there's only one destination rep, and there is really only one destination rep in this project, but you'll know who that is because you'll know whether your New York rep or your upstate New York rep covers this part of New York. You had to give it to somebody. So, but we have no way of knowing that. So if it does overlap, you'll see both of your reps here for that project. So right here, we're also going to see now in this project that we have unknown consultant, and I'll show you how that can be filled in by you if you know the consultant. And then we have all of these dealers bidding from across the country. So a dealer from Florida, a dealer from New York, upstate, a dealer from Mid-America, Atlanta, and Southern California. So to get to any project details, you can just click on the project, and this opens up your project details screen. Also, I failed to mention earlier, you can sort any of these column headers on any of the tables by just clicking the header. So let me go back to, it's auto sorted by item number. So first I'm going to cover this table up here. So this is just basically what we saw on the other screen out on the main My Project screen. It's just an overview of the details on the project. This is that unknown consultant. So if you do know the consultant, you can fill it in here, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. We don't know the consultant's region because there is not one, and we don't know their SIS number because there's not one. And then if perhaps you know the bidding date as a manufacturer, you could fill that in as well. Once you fill it in, then this option to fill it in for anybody else disappears. But we definitely would like to know the bid dates. So, and then our awarded date obviously is undefined. Admin comments is the only thing that is not on that first screen. And admin comments will be very rarely filled in. We developed it because we had a project that had 1,000 items, but the first 500 didn't have model numbers. So, and we contacted the rep, and they were trying to get it another one, but that was just the way it was written. So that is the way we had to publish it, and it was confirmed that it was written that way. So we just said, first 500 items don't have model numbers, just to let you guys know that we didn't, miss them or anything. So over on this right-hand side is our bidding dealers and soon to be awarded dealer screen. So this just gives you an overview of all the dealers that are bidding on this project, and then what their state and country, and then what region they're in. Once the project's awarded, you can click here to see who awarded it, what user. So now we're going to scroll down to the items table. So once again, this is just this manufacturer, as you can see. It's just their items. I want to keep stressing that nobody can see anybody else's items. So for this project that, let's say there's 100 items on it out of 100, this brand number 294 has 4 items on the project. So the first column is the item number the consultant wrote, the brand, what type, so equal, alt, or primary, the description, and this is a description that the consultant used to describe that project or that product, the model number, and then the quantity. So we're tracking lots, we're tracking quantities per plan if they don't give you the quantity and tell you to look at the plan. And then also just regular quantities as well. So, and then it lists your spec rep. your destination rep, and your origination rep. So obviously on the real system, it would have your actual rep firm's name, company name here, and these numbers running in front of the rep firm is the region number. So this is the rep from region 2, region 7, region 12, yada, yada. And as we can see, this destination rep. So if they are not a member of MAFSI, the rep firm, then you will see non-member, but you'll still see that rep, whoever that is for you, is, whether or not they need to be remunerated, I guess. And then right now you can see we don't have a spec rep. So once somebody adds the consultant in, then we will know the spec rep. So I'm going to go ahead and add. Okay, so now we've added the consultant. This consultant does not have an SIS number. So as you can see here, now our third piece of our puzzle is fixed. So, but I chose this consultant too on purpose because this is a consultant that lives in Billings, Montana, which is covered by both Region 20 and Region 25. So if you do have two different reps, you obviously know who has Montana. We do not. And to take that on would be, that means we would have to have in our system, every single rep would have to designate which states they carry the manufacturers in. But if you can imagine it's too hard to track. So you know that on the reps locator listing, even it says, I cover, brand number 294 only in Montana or, Montana, or Wyoming. So SpecPath has no way, so we just give you both of them. If there's two reps that are in one region, so let's say it found two reps in region 20 that did this, you'll see this little symbol, and that means we do have a problem because you can't have more than one rep in a region that's repping the brand name. So that we will you can contact us, the rep will contact us, and it usually just is somebody resigned a line, somebody took on a line and didn't update their listing for MAFSI, but we do know SpecPath has made them much more vigilant about that because now it's being used in a lot more information. So if you do see this little symbol next to the rep firm, that means we do have a problem. You can contact us if you have a rep firm that has changed. We still need to verify that with the new rep and the old rep before we will change their listing because we don't change a rep's locator listing without their approval on the MAFSI member click side. And that's where all this data comes from, is our membership system. So that is that. If a rep loses, or excuse me, I shouldn't say that. If a rep resigns a line, or if you and the rep decide that perhaps it's not working out, that rep will be able to see everything in SpecPath for your line for 30 days. And you will have that rep and in SpecPath for 30 days, but the new rep for your line will be able to see everything related to the projects for immediately, the minute you hire them. So old rep gets to see stuff for 30 days, which is pretty much in line with most contracts, and new rep gets to see everything for your line immediately. So this doesn't really apply to manufacturers, but if you were running two brands in SpecPath, then you could be able to see both brands on the one spec. And if you wanted to narrow it by brand, we also have the option here to export to CSV. This is a little bit more of a detailed CSV. Once again, it's running item number, brand. This project ID is so important. And then it also is running all this raw text, and then goes all the way over here and has all of the dealers, all of the consultants. So, it can have up to 8 dealers where they're located. So these are all the fields that you could somehow map to your system if you so wish. Also from this screen, what we can do is switch to that MiniSpec, and that MiniSpec is what I was showing you earlier. that really opens up these project details. So this is the same exact as our project screen that we were on up through here, but now we're in the MiniSpec screen. It's the same exact interface. All it does is show you all of that raw text that the consultant wrote. So, you know, that might include electrical or how high things must go, or all the accessories and the named accessories. So, you know, I need a TNS brass and a modular and all that stuff. So you'll be able to see all of that, and it's required because the rep's going to need to quote it. So, and then, you know, if you're an alt, you will be able to see, you know, what you need to do here. And you only if you're a named alt. We have some questions yesterday about what if there's, you know, the consultant writes, alternates are accepted. There's no way for us to track that. I mean, if it's going to be on the PDF, but if we did that, then we would have to have, it would allow, it kind of goes against what SpecPath is about, with is only allowing people to see their own stuff, and we wouldn't even know how to. So how would you make, if a shelving unit says alternates accepted, then how do we know who has shelving? It just, so anyway, but if you have the PDF, then, you know, and all we're doing here, we always say PDF rules. All this is an exact replication of that paper PDF. So, you know, if it was on the PDF, we were tracking it. So, you know, you just wouldn't be able to see items that said alternates accepted if you weren't a named alternate. You know, if you're an equal and they run both brand names, you know, both model numbers, which they sometimes do, a lot of times don't for equals, but we will put in your model number for an equal. 100% of the time, they don't seem to put in any, you know, as you know, brand name or model number for an alternate, but you will be able to see who that prime is in this raw text if you need to, so you can quote it, and then so on and so on. So you can switch between the project view and the MiniSpec view anytime you want. So, and while we're on MiniSpecs, I'll just go back. So this is an exact replica of the main My Projects page with the same filters, except for this is the MiniSpec page. So if you just want to actually get a MiniSpec export, just straight from here, you can just click the CSV button, which will give us that same export we saw a second ago, or you can click here, and it will take you to this screen, or if you click this, it'll take you to that same exact screen that we just visited here. So it's just a MiniSpec view, which is that full text, but it's an exact replica. So now I'm going to move on to my brands, my rep firms. Once I said, again, too, this is not the speed of the main system. This runs about 10 to 15 seconds behind. And if any of you have been on SpecPath this morning that are already subscribers, you'll see that all that speed stuff has been fixed. So this is a list of all of your reps. And I'm going to go ahead and sort them by region. On any of these screens, such as my reps, my consultants, my dealers, my market segments, you have two options. You can either show by items or show projects. So show items, as you can see, these numbers are greater. If I switch to that same rep on projects, you can see the number drops, obviously, for obvious reasons. You can export this to CSV. So this has your rep firm, your region, then total items, spec items, destination items, origination items, and then how many out of those are primary, alt, equal, total. You'll notice that this line here is underlined. So anytime I click on any of these rows, and up until I get to this, it assumes I want to look at total items. If I click over here, and there's a table down here, well, I guess I have to get to a manufacturer that. So then it will take you down, and then, so this is just spec items. We're going to be helping you guys. You'll see too that you're just looking at spec items here. So if you click here, this switches to total origination, but we'll put that header down here too so you can see it. So you can click in different parts of this table and get different information. So anytime you click on any of your rep groups, then it opens up. This is obviously your name. And an S next to any rep firm's name means that they're a subscriber of SpecPath. And then also reps can see an S next to your name if you're a subscriber of SpecPath on the manufacturer side. These tables also have total count. So this manufacturer has, out of, let's say, the 130,000 items in SpecPath, they have 6,142 items. So this just shows you who your rep firm is, primary, alt, and equal, and then it starts to break it down by project. So this is your name, and then these are the project names, and then it shows you with each how many prime items, alt items, equal items, total items, and so on and so on. So you can just keep drilling down. If we were to go here, we'd go to the project and drill down that way. So this just gives you an overview of your rep firms, and is helpful, if spec is important to you and, you're trying to reward those reps and get more of the spec market, then gives you a great overview on how that is going for you. My consultants. On this page is a list of all the consultants in North America. You can show items and show projects. So, we'll look at this region right here. This region has 219. This is all consultants combined. And then if we switch to projects, you'll see that number goes down. So you can also, so when you click on New England, let's say it pulls up all the consultants in New England, where they, city and state, what the rep firm is, and then starts to break down each consultant and how many items they have for you. So if we were to click on this, this will take us down, and then this shows you, again, so this is Crabtree McGrath, and then it starts to break down all of the individual items, and then this will soon have model numbers with it as well. And so you'll be able to track model numbers as well. We also will have product descriptions, and we'll have a product description module over here, and we're running the same. When I say, I don't mean product description, I mean product categories. We're going to run the same categories as NAFM, size, and shape. So you would be able to say, out of all of the shelving, or out of all the dish dollies sold in New England, I have 8% of the dish dolly spec market. It's not sales, so it'd be your spec share. So the button's going to be called My Spec Share. So you'll be able to tell how much in each market you have for certain products, what share of the spec market you have. So, and that is coming soon as well. Also, you can use this button to just show consultant stuff that the only ones that have activity, if you just want to, because sometimes the list gets pretty long. You can also export any of that to CSV. Same, My Dealers works exactly the same way as consultants. Break it down, yada, yada, yada. So My Market Segments works the same way. Do this, it's running all the market segments. It just takes you down, 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 down. So my MiniSpecs, we've already gone over. Now my credit tracking. The main purpose of SpecPath is to help the right rep get paid. So in my credit tracking, you'll be able to show paid and unpaid credits for your reps. And we need your help a little bit on this. So if I click on this, it has the project ID, project name. This is obviously your name, brand name, who your spec rep is, destination rep is, origination rep. We want to be able to close this loop and figure out, A, did these projects even ever happen? Did you stay in them? Does the rep, get remunerated? So we are looking for a PO, acknowledgement number, and invoice number. We're going to try to populate this too from some of the reps data that we can get automatically from some of the systems that they're on. And once the PO is entered in, then every rep can see that PO. So not just the origination, usually now only the origination rep knows this stuff. So, but every rep will be able to see it. So it'll help with spec credits, and you can sort of think of this as like, so you won't have to, you could go here instead of having, all those spec credit requests. to figure out. And we could also take this information from you automatically if you're willing to do that. But, you know, you would have to, once you see these project names, it will seem a little less arduous to try to match these up. So, and we just want the manufacturer to recognize that the spec rep's been paid and that the spec rep acknowledges that they've been paid, because that's the whole purpose of this. And then it shows you how many prime, alt, and equal items, estimated bid date, and awarded date. So as you can see, these are just all the different projects, and you know, you're only going to have one PO number per project. And we could also add the dealer, awarded dealer, to this page as well. So show paid and unpaid. So this shows how many credits, how many spec credits, destination credits, and origination credits that you have. So Rep Finder, I will speed through the rest of this. This was just asked to us by the customer service departments of your factories, that they just wanted to be able to have a place, like if, you know, even if it's not for SpecPath, if, you know, there's a chain being built somewhere and I have no idea, and it's one of those weird overlapping places, you know, this is Georgia, but they can just put in a zip code and figure out who the rep for your company is for that. We've also been asked by some manufacturers when we had a booth at FCSI to show the consultants and manufacturers, and some manufacturers there said, oh, it'd be great if we could just dump like a trade show list into here and figure out who the rep was and send it. And that's entirely possible. So, you know, we can look at that in the future. But you can also search by region, city. So it's not really that complicated, but it does help them find out quicker who the rep is for a certain customer. My reports, my credit tracking, and my accounts are not available right now on the live SpecPath. They will be available next week, probably Monday. So my reports, what we've done with this is just tried to give you every single field, and you can mix and match them as you wish. So we have all the project fields, item fields, dealer fields, consultant fields, and rep fields. So you can just click those. You select your data that you want to count. So I want to count brand types, and I guess I need consultants and my items, whatnot. So, and then I'm going to add a new filter, and I'm just going to look at market segments that that should ever pop up. Let me pick a different one. Sorry about that. So brand type that are equal to prime. You can add another filter, add the sort order, and run the report. So, and then you'll be able to save the reports. It has a date function too that is not represented here. So you'll be saying, I just want to run this report for January. I just want to run this report for January through April. I want to run it for January 1st through April 16th. So you'll be able to make all of those options. You'll also be able to save your reports as well. And we'll have a handful of pre-made reports for you as well. But and then the last section is my account. And this section will let you choose. This is on a user basis on how often do I want to be notified. So like I said earlier, when a project's uploaded, anybody who has a piece of that pie or is affected by that project, meaning that they're on it as a manufacturer, or you know, the reps have one or more manufacturers on it, and they live in one of the three regions that we need that are on the project, you know, the destination, origination, or specification, then how often do I want to be notified? Every single time that happens. So, you know, we have, let's say 50 projects being uploaded to SpecPath a day, is, you know, and so do you want to be immediately when that project's approved? Do you want a daily summary, a weekly summary, or a monthly? Or maybe you like a lot of data and you want all four. So then you'll get a lot of emails. Project consultant changed, that this really means added. So when a consultant's added to a project where it said unknown consultant, and like I said, we only have about 10 projects in the system out of 500 and some now that even have an unknown consultant. So we've been pretty successful in having that consultant. Project dealer, this should say added. So when a dealer is added to a project that wasn't previously on that, you can be notified when the project's been awarded and when the bidding date has been added or changed. And then you save that. Once again, that's on a user basis. So I will go ahead right now, and I'm going to keep this up so I can maybe answer your questions. I do apologize. hope to have at least 10 minutes for questions. If you need to jump off the phone, but you have a question, you can send it to specpath@mafsi.org. If you have a question and can stay on the phone for about 10 more minutes, please input that into the question module. I will be reading the questions out loud before I answer them. But if you do have to jump off, I apologize, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're really honored by the support that's been put behind SpecPath, and we thank you all for that. So have a great day. So again, right now, I'm going to just turn it over to questions, and I'm going to go ahead and open back up the program so I can maybe use the program So first question is the part about my credit tracking. Would this be pulled from auto quotes? We are already feeding it to them. I think you mentioned in your system could work in conjunction with auto quotes. Yes, we could definitely do that. We, with auto quotes permission and with your permission, that would be great. So yes, that's available on our side. We would have to talk to auto quotes about that. So, but yes, that is a great possibility too. So do we have any more questions? We had a ton yesterday. So next question, have many of MAFSI reps signed up? No, I have not mentioned that, so great question. We have 73 rep groups that have signed up. MAFSI has about 200 rep groups that sell equipment. So we're tracking pretty well there. We thank them, and we thank, we have about 40 manufacturers so far that have signed up, and we're getting great feedback from those manufacturers. They're loving it. And we want to thank both those 70 rep groups and the 40 manufacturers because they have purchased the product sight unseen. This is the first time that we have had a chance, since we had to anonymize this data in order to show it, and it took quite a big effort, that we've even shown anyone SpecPath. So those 73 rep groups and 39 manufacturers supported us sight unseen. So we thank you, and we hope you're happy with it. We're getting really positive reviews from both the reps and the manufacturers that are using it. So, and like I said, these webinars, so you'll be able to show other people this webinar, but also we'll make available to you if you would like to use this demo site just to play around in it. One thing I did forget to mention on my accounts is that it also has the payment information. So SpecPath is $300 a year. $300 a month for manufacturers. And that is, for your brand, so $300 per brand. And you do get a 30-day trial. So this is telling us that your 30 days won't be up until Sunday, October 9th. For the manufacturers that signed up previously, we already have all this information filled in for you. But so this is by brand, and you can have as many users as you would like from your company for this. So, okay, next question. As SpecPath is ultimately driven by the projects and information entered by the rep community, is it possible for manufacturers to view which of their reps are actively participating in the service prior to signing up for the service themselves? Most definitely. We could tell you who those rep firms are. And also, so we could just give you a subscriber list. Also on this screen, we can assume that some of the reps that have, go back by region, some of these reps that have higher numbers for you means that they're an active uploader. Some reps, that have lower numbers may just be by proxy, they get to see the projects. This rep obviously isn't a subscriber, so they only have 16 stuff, and that they probably, if they're not a subscriber, they don't even know this exists, but they probably have 16 items because they benefited from somebody else uploading a project along the way. But you can tell by these numbers, maybe who's actively uploading and who's just sort of even from a subscriber standpoint, just kind of sitting back and watching what comes in. So, I can't say that with certainty, but, I can assume that if you have pretty high numbers here, it means that your reps are really active subscriber. And it only behooves the reps to upload. One thing we're going to look at to incentivize reps to upload is that once we can get that turnaround time down to about an hour, that they only have access, only the person that uploaded it has access to do the quote for the first 12 hours, perhaps. So, we give that rep a head start on servicing the dealer quicker, since they took, uploaded. It only takes 1 to 2 minutes to upload a PDF. And the reps have been, happy with that interface, and it doesn't take a lot of time on their, on their part just to add it to the system. But then any rep that uploads that same project, let's say, so your rep from Texas, Oklahoma uploads it, and then he gets to, he gets 12 hours of quoting time to himself. But then if another rep uploads the same project, they'll get the same too. I mean, it won't just be the first rep. If you upload a project, even if it's, and then it's a duplicate, you still get the 12 hours because you took the effort. You took the initiative to upload and the effort to upload the project to the system. So, I mean, it just behooves the reps too, because, then there are dealers added to the project and all that kind of stuff. So, the next question. Oh, it was just a comment that said, this is an amazing program. Congrats. So I hope I have answered all your questions. I can hang around here if you have any more for a couple minutes. I'm trying to remember some of the manufacturer questions from yesterday. There was quite a few. But yeah, like I said, we can do anything. And we can, so if you have suggestions, we're also, we're looking right now to, like I mentioned, to have that Spec Share portion. We also have to have a way for reps to automatic, perhaps help them to file spec credit if they're not using some of the industry programs to do that. To manufacturers that aren't participating in SpecPath, reps still need to file spec credits. We hope that if a manufacturer and a rep are both in SpecPath, then maybe that whole process can go away, because you won't need to actually send a spec credit request form, because you'll be able to see it in the system. So hopefully that will cut down on a lot of paperwork for both reps and manufacturers that are both members of SpecPath or subscribers. So, well, I hope you enjoyed the webinar today, and I will go ahead and sign off. We just want to reiterate, we hope you find it valuable. The goal of SpecPath was to get reps paid, the right rep paid for the work they do, but also to provide manufacturers with market intel that you have not had access to before on a North American basis and all in one place. So we hope you enjoy it. And once again, if you have any questions or if you'd like to sign up, you can send an email to specpath@mafsi.org. Or if you'd like just to sign up automatically, you can visit the MAFSI website at www.mafsi.org, and you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, there's a SpecPath logo for manufacturers, and you can sign up there. You'll get a 30-day free trial. And a copy of this webinar will be sent to all of you early next week, so you can share it with your colleagues if you so wish. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you again. Bye-bye.